Hello guys, welcome back to Pause and welcome back to Firewood Grotto. Adam here and welcome to part 6. So if you go on to enjoy this video, don't forget to give us a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. So what we are going to get started on today is our rides portion of this build. So far we've built a car park, the entrance area, which is sort of the ticket hub, and we've built a Santa's Grotto. And in the last episode, we put in the Christmas village and markets using some amazing pieces from the workshop. So today we're building the fairground section. We've put a couple of rides in and also a nice little entranceway. Now we call this, what did we call it? Toy? I can't remember, something with toys. You'll see it in a minute. But I use a lot of this, well, for the first time I've ever built with it, the what's it called? I can't use my words today. Gingerbread, that's the word. The gingerbread pieces from the festive set. And it's actually quite a nice set for this kind of thing, to be fair. Imagine this is just a very basic facade that we put in a quick little tunnel in here as the sort of as the entranceway into the fairground. And that's the kind of idea with it. We put in a few lights, a few little decorations. I use some of those sort of icing pieces, which again are quite nice. Toy Town, that's it. Toy Town Fair, Fun Fair. Toy Town Fun Fair. That's what we call it in the end. Oh god, it's been a long day. So yeah, we put that in very basic structure with a little bit of detail on it, and then we expand out the back, and like I said, we put in a few of the rides. I wanted this to be quite an eye-catching entrance into the little fairground area, and again I want it to fit the kind of toy, children, Christmas kind of theme, so we go for quite a lot of multicoloured lights actually on this one, which is not a thing I tend to do much on Planet Coaster, but I think with this kind of style theme it works quite well. So that's what we go in inside and on the outside of this, a few multicolours, again just to sort of give it a little bit of a distinct look, and also we're going to make it look quite inviting, especially for the kids. That's where they want them to pay the money, and sort of pull the parents in and be like, look, take me on these rides. So that's the general idea. I just throw in a few random little bits and pieces down, just because there's not really anywhere else to use these, and I kind of want to use them because it's very rare you get to use these weird pieces of sort of candy and stuff, so it's good to get them in there. Like I say, a few lights inside, multicolouring it up to make it just look a little bit unusual, going kind of like a rainbow vibe, and a few little spots on the outside. I do come back a little bit later on and put in the wiring for those lights. That's something I still want to try and bring into this, is a bit of realism. I do need to go back around the market area, putting some wires and generators and things, but that's something I'll probably do off camera as it's a bit tedious. But in terms of this section, the rides area, you'll see one of the first things we put in actually in a minute is a couple of generators. I use the 2 in-game ones, which I think came with studios, but I might be wrong on that, but they work quite well. So we mix that with some janky fence and some random cables and wiring, and I think it turns out quite nice, which you'll see in a few moments. I thought this will be a good place to get in some snow machines, as I haven't used them at all yet in this build, and I think as that entrance, they might have spent a bit of money on it. They're relatively cheap these days for a small snow machine, so it's not out of the realms of possibility that this place would have a few. And so yeah, we put them in the entrance again to add a little bit of grandiose to the sort of fairground area. So the first ride that we put in next to the generators that I just spoke about is Dodgems. I'm going for some classic kind of fairground travelling rides in this section of the build, because I think that will just fit better to give it that temporary feeling, and that's, like I said, why we're going down the route with the generators. And I just wanted it to give that little sense of realism. It's not something I've ever had to really do in the game, so it's a good task for me really as well to just sort of try it. And I think like I say, it turns out quite well. So this one is easy because we just put the wires straight into the ride. I have to be a little bit more creative with the next ride we put in, but I'll talk more about that in a moment. But I do just want it to be realistic. And like I said, I probably will at some point put in a small travelling coaster, maybe a wild mouse or something like that, something that's quite common for fairgrounds, but can also be a temporary kind of structure. And again, we'll probably use generators and stuff for that one. Just a few lights in here to give it that fairground vibe. Is anyone who's been to like a UK or European fairground, there's a lot of lights and loud music playing, and it's got a bit of a disco atmosphere. So I thought I'd sort of stick some lights in to try and recreate that in the game as well. Again, adding a few more bits and pieces of wiring to the generators to put my own spin on it, and then put in a little bit of janky fence. Now I've purposely used janky fence, because remember, this is a temporary structure. This stuff has been plonked down in the middle of a field, and it's travelling showmen. Some of them, yes, are very proud of their rides and their heritage. Some aren't, and some would just plonk them down in whatever old way. And that's the kind of feeling we're going for here. That there's just someone to turn up with some rides, and they said, yeah, put it in that bit, then yeah, it'll be fine. And that's the kind of thing we're going for. I didn't like the path. One thing I really wish we could do is use natural paths for queues. It's frustrating that you can't. So what I've decided to do, and I will come back and touch this up a little bit, because it looks a bit dodgy at the moment, but once we blend it in, it'll look okay. Just use the snow pieces to cover up the path. Originally I was going to leave it sort of half like this to give the impression that snow has sort of drifted over, but there wouldn't be concrete paths there. And actually I did try the wood, as you probably saw at the start, but it just doesn't look very realistic, so we've gone for that for now. Like I said, we'll come back to it maybe and see if it can be improved, but I think generally it works okay. But what it does mean, we have to cover up these little entrance ways, because why would they be there if it's a travelling ride? I mean, the queues wouldn't be there for starters, and I was tempted to just put the queue straight onto a normal path and just have no queue line, but I don't know. We might see how that looks, but I think I'm happy with this, but the way it turns out. So here's some of these rocks and these snow pieces, and it does cover it up quite nicely. And we do the same for this ride in a minute. So this is the bit I was on about where I had to be a little bit more creative. But it works quite well. There's a bit of clearance under this ride, and it already looks very travelling with the framework underneath, so it suits quite well. And this one, using one of the generators from the workshop that we had a while ago, and just putting in some wiring. It took me a while to get the wiring in the right place, but once we get there, it all kind of comes together. One thing I will do actually mention, the fence I was just using a minute ago around the what are they called? Generators. I believe that is a Theme Maker's Toolkit item, and I'm so sorry that I didn't write down who made it. But it's something that was just in my fences when I was searching for that. I was like, yeah, this is perfect. And I just kind of remembered subscribing to it a while back. So apologies that I haven't remembered the name, but that is a Theme Maker's Toolkit item, I believe. And it's really good, actually. It's a really nice piece. This one here, this black one I'm talking about, it's a really nice piece. So yeah, we're just filling in the little gaps of the fence so people don't touch the electrics and die. I've put a bin in the way of the generators, as again, these things are quite janky, and I think some places would use a bin as a barrier. I mean, I've seen it before. These fairgrounds don't tend to have the same sort of stringent health and safety as you'd find in a theme park, and I want to kind of put that vibe across. It's hard to do in this game, but if I can try and put some little janky bits here and there, I'm all for it. And if there's any other janky bits and pieces that anyone can think of, let me know. I'm open to janky ideas. The last little thing we put in, a few finishing touches, making some little snow drifts and mounds around the edge to give some sort of height variance. And then in a minute I'll show you some sort of slow-mo shots of what we've done today. I know it's not amazing amounts, but I did only have a short amount of time to record today, and I thought it's a good start to get in fairground. Toy Town Fair Fun Fair. Oh god, I really can't speak today. It's probably a good job it's a short video. So here's some, like I say, slow-mo shots to have a look in more detail. And in the next one, we'll probably add a few more rides. And like I said, we'll probably go back to the markets and just finish off that, add a few more bits and pieces, and add the generators and wiring and all that kind of stuff. and see if we need to add more lighting and bins and these sort of utilities. But for now, guys, that's going to do us for today. So thank you ever so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, don't forget to give us a like down below. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of the content. And if you want to have a chat, jump on to the Twitter or the Discord server. Oh, pardon me. Both links to those are in the description below. But for now, guys, thank you ever so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers, guys. Bye.